Hi everyone, it's Carmen here, back with Peace and Carmen. Um, Today, this morning, just waking up, I wanted to do a video on just some things to say to a friend who's grieving and some things to not say to that friend who's grieving, because that can be tough, especially if you yourself have never experienced grief, or even if you have. Sometimes knowing the right words to say to somebody who is actively going through the process is hard. It's difficult. It's daunting. You want to be there to support them, and you don't want to say the wrong thing that's going to add to their pain. So I just have three quick things to say to somebody who's grieving, and three things to not say to someone who is going through that process. So the first thing to not say to someone who is grieving, which I think is super important because it's something that you get asked a lot, is how did they die? Don't ask that. It's a selfish question. It is not for their benefit. It's to satisfy your curiosity. Okay? It's not something that not everybody has a cookie cutter death. Not everybody wants to discuss that. And there's a lot of complexities within losing a life that perhaps they just don't want to talk about. So that is number one. Do not ask that. Instead, something that you should ask or say to your friend who's grieving is, do you want to talk about it? Point blank. That opens up the door for them to be able to talk about it. If they want to tell you what happened, they can. If they don't, they can talk about just that person, just talk about how they're feeling, talk about those last moments leading up to that. It gives them the ability to decide what they feel like they want to talk about at that time, which is extremely beneficial for someone who's trying to move to a process of healing. When you do get asked, how did they die, and you have to, politely tell them, no, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, some people don't feel like doing that. A lot of people aren't bold enough to be able to do that. And sometimes they'll just tell you just to appease you, and that's not fair. If you want to help them, let them control the conversation instead of you deciding what information that you want. The second thing to not say to somebody who's grieving is, call me if you need me, which is also a super common thing that people will say. And of course, it's said with the best of intent, but ultimately, if someone is extremely depressed and sad, they probably are not going to reach out. They certainly don't want to drag anybody else down into their deep emotions that they're feeling at the time. So at a point that, they might not feel like they don't want to be selfish and, ruin somebody's mood. So they might not reach out to you. Instead, the thing that you might want to say to that grieving friend is, are you sleeping? Are you eating? I'm going to be over there at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm going to make you some dinner. You're telling them that you're going to be there. Sometimes when you're asking them and you give them that route to be like, oh, no, it's fine. It's probably just to help you to not have to sit with them in that dark place that they're at. And if you are willing to do that for that person, just go over there. Just be there for that person, because they're going to appreciate that. No words could describe how much they're going to appreciate that, especially once they get into that thick of healing. So the last thing to not say to someone who is grieving is, Oh, I know exactly how you feel. My grandpa died when I was a kid, and it was really hard, and yada yada. Of course, that is also said with the best of intent. It's trying to tell them that you sympathize with them, but in that time, you don't know how they're feeling. Everybody experiences grief in a lot of different ways. There might be a lot of other factors that are playing into their grief that you just don't know. Instead of focusing on you and your experience and your things, focus on them and just be there for them. The third thing that you should say is perhaps nothing at all. We realize that some people don't have the right words to say, and that's okay. You don't have to have the perfect words. If you're just saying that, I'm going to come over, I'm going to sit with you, sometimes that's all you need. It's just to know that somebody's around, to be able to be there, to let you cry on their shoulder if you need it. And that's sometimes the best support, the best comfort that you could possibly imagine. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, if you have something that you've said to somebody or someone has said to you that was super helpful, comment down below. Let's have this conversation. It's not an easy topic, but it is something that needs to be talked about. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do. There's going to be definitely more discussions on grief, discussions on mental health, and spirituality. So there's definitely more to come. So if you are healing, I'm with you. My thoughts are with you. My heart is with you. And if you are someone who is offering someone support, my strength is with you. All right. So thank you guys.